crazy busy everywhere, busy restaurants, busy stores, tour buses on every corner. The reality of what it is like for the Greek citizens is not really all that hidden if you're willing to take a look. Go for a walk, go for a run. I know that Greece has been in an economic crisis for some time, but I wasn't prepared for some of what I saw. Perhaps maybe because I haven't traveled in some time. The gap between the historical tourist areas and the outside the commercial and restaurant sections, it was a pretty massive gap. Hello there, I'm Zoe. For those of you who don't know me, Zoe Brannigan Pipe. I'm from Hamilton, Ontario, and Hamilton is right across the lake from Toronto, if you don't know it already. And I love to travel. I love to explore the world, meet new people, and I love to try to get off the beaten path a little bit when I do travel and share a little bit of my adventures. Perhaps that's the teacher in me. I've been a teacher for almost 25 years. I also am a mom. I tend to travel with one or both of my kids and my husband, and sometimes even on my own. But this trip here, Greece, brought me to a lot of different unexpected places and unexpected adventures that I'd want to share. So we started in Hamilton, went to of course, took Hamilton is very easy to get to Toronto. There's frequent trains, GO train or Via train. From Toronto, we went from the Pearson International Airport, pretty easy direct flight to Athens. So we're here at the UP. It's gonna take us to Pearson. So excited. Everyone, Mom, we arrived. We're in Athens. Signs were pretty obvious. And it was, of course, the direction heading. Once we found the tickets, got a drink, relaxed a little bit, we took a really good look at the subway map. From Athens, we were there for a couple of days just to acclimatize to the time difference and such, and then went to Kalambaka and spent some days exploring the Meteora in that area. Well, we've arrived at the Athens train station, and it was quite the adventure because we missed our train this morning, which was a bit of a pain because I pre-booked the tickets and they did not refund them. We just got onto a transfer to Kalambaka from previous train, which we thought was going to be late. It's a different train now. There's Nate. Got out square in the middle of nowhere. It's good the train waited for us. We arrived in Kalambaka and we are in Meteora. What you're seeing behind me are these beautiful rounded giant boulders that is called Meteora, and that thing that's famous about this area in Greece are the monasteries that were built in this location. This little town is called Kalambaka, and so the rocks themselves are Meteora, and there's about 24 monasteries built on them, and it was built in about the 13th or 14th century, and that's what's really famous, is the history of these monasteries. Some are still being used, and you can travel up there and get an amazing view and visit the monasteries, which we're hoping to do at some point. So it's kind of cool. You can see they're just, I'll get better pictures later, but we're excited to to be here and to see the history of this location. I did find out some fun facts. A James Bond movie was filmed here. There's also a Pokemon movie that is based on this area of Meteora. There was a few others. I think Indiana Jones, there was one of their movies, The Young Indiana Jones, I love it, Indiana Jones, was also filmed in this area. Well, I must say the coffee here in Greece is like no other coffee I've ever had. It is, I don't know, it is very strong, not bitter, doesn't need sugar, it tastes creamy, rich, has flavor, almost chocolatey, nutty. I don't even know. It is just so delicious. So we stopped, escaped from the heat a little bit. We're about to head into the Natural History Museum. We thought we'd get a coffee to perk us up a little bit before we go in. So here's my coffee. We're at the Natural History Museum in Kalambaka, Greece. And who knew that there would be a mushroom museum on the second floor? It's actually kind of interesting. It talks a lot about the mushrooms associated with certain vegetation like pine trees, oak trees, beech trees. So here we are eating again. This time we're at a restaurant, very traditional restaurant, serving Greek food that is traditional for this area of Meteora. And Nate is going to order European anchovies. Everybody who knows Nate, they will know that he loves anchovies. So we'll see how this goes. And of course our Greek salad, in which we always get. So Meteora. This is what I'm talking about this Greek salad. Everywhere we go, it's just the nicest looking salad. And tasting, it's so fresh. Is this your second time having feta today?
No.
These are anchovies and they look fried, but they're not very greasy at all. I guess a little bit. They did just put a lot of lemon on it. So this is very traditional. Everywhere we go, people are here, and then took the train back. So we are now having to wait till the 1:30 train, so we have about 5 hours in Kalambaka, and we are going to get to our final destination much later. Okay, we're just had a really long day, missing our original train and then getting on another train which broke down for a little bit, but it did go, but it was quite hot and long. And so now we just transferred from that train to another train, and we're heading to the port. I'm not exactly sure how to say it, but it's Piraeus is how I think I say it. I should say it's, very reflective in that there was a very devastating train crash in that area not that long ago, after we were on it. So it was definitely, the train systems there do need some work. From there, we went back into Piraeus, which is an outskirt of Athens. So once again, seems like everywhere I go, there's a vegan option. It just happens that this is a special for today. Some sort of Greek ratatouille that he said was a traditional stew, but it's stewed vegetables, eggplant, potatoes, obviously zucchini, onions, probably garlic, fresh bread. And then Nate got this anchovies. I've never seen anchovies look like that before, with beans, fava beans of some sort inside it. So we're gonna kind of share it. So Brad and I are gonna have this, and then of course the fresh bread. But all right, I'll try one. Really good. An all-day ticket.
12:30.
crazy crowded here. But maybe it could be worse. I don't think it's that bad. It's Sunday. But these are some pretty interesting streets. We're heading for lunch. We're just about to go into the botanical gardens here in Athens. Those of you who know me, I don't love crowds, and neither does Nate or Brad. So this might be a nice little excursion into the nature. Can you hear this? Sounds like cicadas again. Staying in a hotel called the Stanley. It's a little outside some of the attractions we want to visit, and the reviews did not lie in that it is in a very precarious neighborhood. Honestly, I felt a little scared walking here from the subway. I saw people doing some pretty hardcore drugs, lots and lots of homeless, which I'm not scared, but it was just a very of that. But what they were doing and how they were behaving was, well, a little bit upsetting. Very close to the Stanley. What I am happy about is our hotel is very close to a metro, which we're getting onto right now. And we're about to head out to the pretty sweet spot we found here in Athens. We're on a rooftop. Our hotel has this rooftop pool, bar. And you can look way in the distance. I don't know if you can see it behind me. The Agora. I just want to take a minute to say a couple things about Athens. Well, the tourist industry in Greece appears to be booming, at least now, towards the end of the pandemic. We saw this with insane lineups, crazy busy everywhere, busy restaurants, busy stores, tour buses on every corner. The reality of what it is like for the Greek citizens is not really all that hidden if you're willing to take a look. Go for a walk, go for a run. I know that Greece has been in an economic crisis for some time, but I wasn't prepared for some of what I saw. Perhaps maybe because I haven't traveled in some time. The gap between the historical tourist areas and the outside the commercial and restaurant sections, it was a pretty massive gap. I want to share an excerpt from an article I read by freelance writer James Jeffrey that you can Google as well. It deeply spoke to me when I toured some of Athens. And he says, in quote, "After all, this is the cradle of the Western civilization, and now it appears to be the graffiti capital of the Western world. The Parthenon temple still looks mighty and grand atop of the ancient Acropolis citadel dominating the city's center skyline. But down at street level, there are many people who just look plain hard up and downtrodden. The telltale signs are hard to miss. The lined faces and the permanent frowns, the hastened aging and disheveled clothes." So it's important to know the recent history of Athens' financial crisis, which was in 2008. It put them in a massive economic decline and depression. I learned that because of this, there was a significant rise in drug and alcohol use, which we saw poverty and we saw hunger, and that more than 1/3 of the population is considered to be living in poverty. What was most troublesome, what I saw, was the poverty I witnessed amongst children. which I couldn't stop talking and thinking about through our trip. It consumed me. Often I saw children as young as 4 years old begging for money, moms with babies laying on the streets. I asked locals about this, and they suggested I look up the plight of the Roma people whose suffrage and poverty and lack of support and understanding, our understanding of them, are just unthinkable, especially the children who are 100% at risk of living in poverty and experiencing abuse. The people here are facing struggle, it's clear. The city does not seem to have a lot of evidence of growth, improvement. I didn't see cranes. There wasn't a lot of construction on roads, for instance, on bike lanes. Nevertheless, there was inspiration. It's why we were there, not just the history. We could see and find the most beautiful art on the most decrepit, broken down buildings. Restaurants they called tavernas with the most beautiful oasis garden patios that were sometimes only steps away from alleyways that were crawling with drug users that sometimes we feared going down. There was always people welcomed us with their arms out and giving us 100% service of food and quality. Even amongst the poverty, the people seemed hopeful. There was people on the streets playing music, gathering at coffee shops, singing in parks, just hanging out. So I do think it's important when you travel, when all of us travel, to understand what a city really is, what it's about, to have empathy, to know what's beyond just the tourists, and to take part and see it from the ground level, walking the neighborhoods, talking to locals. It's really worth it.
It's like a mutated form.
Yeah, it's like a multi-headed monster.
Here, Monty. Take my hat off, but we're here, the Parthenon, and we just passed a lineup with very, very congested lineups. Hundreds. Well, we stopped at a small vegan vegetarian restaurant for lunch. Wow. Very cute, doesn't it?
Yeah, possibly.
So we're headed to the Hills of Muses. It's the Peloponnese, Sphinx and Nymphs, and apparently it is free entrance, less crowded. After doing both, paying the fees and walking up to the Parthenon, which I'm glad we were amongst it. I would say that if I could have a do-over, I'm happy with this view and this hike, and there's nobody, as you can see, we're the only ones here. I love how the city takes care of their cats. Here's just one of many examples. All sorts of little antiques and treasures and special things for people's collections. Let's see. Oh my gosh. I bet you I have this in our record collection. We're on our way for a great adventure. We're stuck in the elevator. We're headed to the port. We are going to be taking a night ferry to Crete. So once we get to the port, I'll show you around a little bit. One observation I have about Athens is it's not very walkable. I wouldn't say it's a very walkable city, not very pedestrian friendly. Well, okay, it's Piraeus, as I'm corrected, but I think that's more in the outskirts of Athens. And then made our way on a ferry and took an overnight ferry to Crete.
So we booked our trip on Ferry Hopper, pretty easy, but we did book it about 2 months in advance. And this is the ship we're going on, Blue Star. So we don't actually take off until 10 o'clock, but we're gonna go and check out
seats people purchase, similar to. And from there, we took a bus. You don't really need to rent a vehicle, but we took a bus, just, their regular city bus to into the town of Hania. So we've arrived here and checked in, and here we are on the little walking path along the port, the old city. You can see all the fortified walls on that side, and then there's some over here. Hello, swimming with my new GoPro. Okay, I'll have to delete this clip.
Here we go.
Gotta make sure I pronounce that correctly. Here in Crete, the old town. Definitely in my happy place. The breeze definitely makes the heat not feel so bad. I'm gonna have a coffee and then head back to our hotel room and rest, and then maybe repeat. It's very surreal here. Spelt CH, Hania. That's sort of how it's spelt, CHANIA, and that was absolutely amazing. I highly suggest it. Mind you, it is quite crowded. We again tried to do things off the beaten path, avoid the crowds a little bit, especially at night. It got very crowded in the very small corridors of alleyways, but amazing, but just a little bit crowded. This path leads to the lighthouse that you can find about 1,000. Everything's vegan, right?
Everything's vegan.
Okay.
So we have mixed salad, polenta with pesto and cherry tomatoes, falafel, stuffed mushroom, sweet potato salad, stuffed wine leaves from my garden.
From your garden, really?
Yes. And that's giant beans in a Greek way. We make it here.
Mm.
Excellent.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
This is what they bring you at the end of the meal, and we always go to bed so early that we've not actually experienced this before, but it's this raki, they call it. No. Oh, We rented a car in Hania and then drove to go see some of the sites, including the Monastery Catholico, which I'll share.
With a car. We rented a car. I'm feeling a little bit nervous, especially because I have a backseat driver who can be a little bit tense at times. So hopefully all goes well, but we are going to have some adventures and have some fun. Wish me luck driving standard. I haven't driven standard in about 15 years, so I gotta remember how to do it. All right. It's pretty quiet here. Wow. Oh, you know what? You guys, you got to stop for a minute. Check these out right here. You can see lots of little caves inside. They're like little doors. You see it? Yeah. You see that? Very, very.
Who knows how old those are? At least 500 years.
At least.
That's pretty cool. There's probably all sorts of animals.
Wow. Holy moly. Very cool. I do.
Which way?
Water.
Oh my gosh. That's going to be fun going up.
Yeah, totally.
We just have to make sure.
And then went from there to Heraklion, and we stayed at a resort for a couple of days to kind of relax and decompress. And then, well, we're leaving Hania.
This guy lost the spot.
Okay, we're leaving Hania, and we had an amazing, I guess, almost 3.5 days here. I'm glad we stayed this long. It was enough to just feel like we understand the area well. One thing I would recommend is if you are going to rent a car, just know that it is very congested, very difficult to find parking. Something that we might reconsider if we ever did it again. But now we are getting in our rental car and we are heading to Heraklion. We found the parking lot and now we are headed to check out some of the ancient ruins, starting with the house of Peristyle Yard.
Artemis, god of the hunt.
So what is the significance of Artemis where we're going right now?
Apparently it's named after this person, Artemis.
Right, Artemis was the god of the hunt.
Yeah, it's not called Artemis, it's called, what is it called?
Aptera.
Aptera. Oh, so the site's history of Aptera apparently began in the Minoan period, which is actually it is break time and food time as usual when we finish a vigorous hot activity. So we have stopped in this tiny little village and in Aptera, and this one is called the Cretan Corner. So we are going to have a little
Papery learning.
more veggies.
And I think they call this, what do they say, fava?
But it says lentil.
It says lentil.
It's a bad translation.
So maybe it's a fava lentil
What separates
mixture.
lentil from beans? What separates lentils from beans?
Well, they are kind of, it's a different type. A fava bean and a lentil are two different things.
Just a different style.
Favas are big, giant ones.
Oh.
Lentils are little tiny ones.
And this is Nate's having this for. This might be, we could run this. Lots of new builds here, right? Look at this place. Good morning. Yep, we're up early, too early, and just seeing the sun rise. I can get a good view. Quiet. And we're gonna attempt a little run in the area. Well, we're off again. We're leaving this 2-day relax at a resort kind of vacation.
And from there, we went into the town of Heraklion.
And now we're headed into Heraklion, which is the capital of Crete. So we're gonna explore Heraklion for maybe only a couple of hours. And then we're going to take the ferry back to Athens. We made it to Heraklion. It was about half an hour drive. The city is pretty crowded to drive in, a lot of traffic. But we found, it's pretty surprising how we found a parking spot. Now we're just wandering around, checking the place out. Tons of
funny story, the ferry broke down in the middle of the night and it was about 8 hours late getting into port.
So we're on the ferry back to Piraeus and then Athens, and the ferry I guess broke down last night or something. There was an announcement that I couldn't understand at 1 a.m. and so we were supposed to arrive 2 hours ago. We're still in the, you can see this view that we have.
You can.
Can you see it? I think you can. Well, we're 6 hours, is it 6 or 7 hours late getting in?
from the port Piraeus back to Athens, and then from Athens we rented another vehicle and drove into on our way to Sparta, but we stopped at the oldest town or city called Argos, which is in oldest apparently in Europe. So Nate and I are spending 3 extra days. Brad, we have said goodbye to Brad at the airport. It just worked out because of the flights, so we got cheaper flights this way. So we rented a car, and now we are driving to Sparta for 2 days, and then we're going to Crete for 1 day, and then back to the airport to say goodbye to Greece. Well, we stopped in Argos to take a little break. This is Argos. A fun fact that it's been inhabited consistently for over 7,000 years, and that it's the oldest city in Europe. Went to Sparta, stayed in Sparta for a few days again to explore some of the ancient sites. Okay, we're in Sparta. We're not in Sparta for long, but we are going to there is a sign to an ancient site, which is called the Fortification Castle of, what? Mistras, which is actually where we are right now in Mistras, like M-Y-S-T. I also learned that there are wild boar in this area. Did you learn anything about you? I'm going very slow. I just want to get the magnitude of where we are. Look at this. There's nobody. We're almost there. Oh. Well, I drove for about 5 hours through the most amazing mountains I've ever seen in my life. Felt like I was on top of the world. I think we still are. I'm buzzing. We somehow booked this hotel. I did not know it was going to be this magical. But the mountains are behind us, and we are about to go and explore. Then made our way back into a place. Oh. Well, we had to stop on our way to Corinth. And here we are at the Mycenae, which is an archaeology site of. I believe we're going down. This is where they had that water, right? Down here, is this true? There's a natural spring. These are really, really well maintained. It was worth renting a vehicle for sure, and so I think my suggestion for myself when we travel is maybe stay away from some of the touristy areas and go and explore the country more. This is the ancient city of Corinth. Is that its name? Made it back eventually into Athens. It's our last morning. We're on our way to the airport. Unfortunately, I'm not feeling very good. Very nauseous today. It's going to be a rough day. We're on our way to the airport, and it's not good timing that we were just having breakfast, and unfortunately I got sick to my stomach. Greece, where we then took, when we ended up with the flight back home. So to Toronto, and I'm feeling a lot better now. It was a really rough start of the day, and things progressed. I got some sleep, eventually ate again, but it was not an ideal, let's fly for 10.5 hours kind of day. So we're back to Toronto soon, and I really appreciated sharing this exciting journey with everyone, and especially my mom, Lori, and a few others that I know for sure have been watching. It's been pretty awesome, and I look forward to sharing my next adventures with you as well. So enjoy watching the videos if you haven't already. I'm an amateur. This was sort of my first go at trying to narrate or teach or share some of the videos with you, but I do have another trip planned, and so it was sort of a practice go. Lots of mistakes with video and audio and such, and I'm trying to do it in one take. So I do hope you consider giving this a watch, and please, if I would really appreciate a follow and a like. I've always said I'm not going to say that on the video. Follow me. I just I have very few, and it would really be helpful. So give me a follow and a like and a comment if you want. If you're like me and you love watching travel videos, I love it. I love that people are putting themselves out there just to teach each other about the world. But definitely do share, and what kind of adventures you have next trip, and I'll share Portugal and France for almost a month.